Welcome, dear subscribers and curious listeners of my channel. Today I want to share my thoughts on how the Harry Potter films could have been much deeper if the adaptation had been more attentive to detail. Many interesting elements mentioned in the books were either missed or underdeveloped, while some were added unnecessarily. Let's break down the moments that could have made the films even more captivating and atmospheric. Enjoy watching. Number 1. A setup for the future. One of these moments is related to the character of Sirius Black. In the films, we meet him only in the third movie, but his name is mentioned in the first book. When Hagrid comes to pick Harry up from Privet Drive, he mentions that the flying motorcycle was borrowed from Sirius Black, but this detail isn't used in the films, even though it could have been a great reference that would draw the audience's attention to this important character. Quote from the book, "Finally, Hagrid." There was a distinct note of relief in Dumbledore's voice. "Where did you get that motorbike?" "I borrowed it, Professor Dumbledore," said the giant, carefully dismounting. "From young Sirius Black, and about the child I brought him, sir." Imagine if Sirius's name had been mentioned at the very beginning. Viewers would have understood that this character was always part of the story. Unfortunately, this opportunity was missed. Let's not forget about Mrs. Fig, who is introduced only in the 5th film, although she was an important character from the start. In the adaptation, Harry often stayed under the care of this old woman, and she played a much bigger role in the books than in the films. Number 2. The missing brother. Grawp is a character that appears in the movie The Order of the Phoenix. He doesn't play a significant role and quickly disappears from the narrative, despite his potential. It would have been interesting to see the development of his relationship with Hagrid, or at least his participation in action scenes, but unfortunately this didn't happen and his presence became more of a wasted screen time. Number 3. Out in the open. One of the most missed moments is the Horcruxes. For example, the Slytherin locket, which the characters find in Sirius's house. In the films, it's just an object in a cupboard, but in the books, it's a key detail for defeating Voldemort. Quote from the book. Among other things, the cupboards contained such items as a music box that, when wound up, played a somewhat eerie, jangling tune that made everyone feel strangely weak, and they would have fallen asleep if Ginny hadn't had the sense to snap the lid shut. A massive locket, which no one could open. This was an important discovery, but unfortunately the film didn't give enough attention to this detail. Number 4. Dark deeds. Films often introduce elements that aren't used properly later on. For example, the vanishing cabinet, in which Harry hides in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. This cabinet was supposed to play a role in the 5th film when Draco Malfoy uses it to infiltrate Hogwarts. But the films didn't show this, and the connection between these elements remained unnoticed. Quote from the book, "And Montague tried to do the same thing during a break," George said. "What do you mean, tried?" Ron immediately asked. "He didn't manage to finish," Fred explained. "The thing is, we shoved him headfirst into the vanishing cabinet on the 2nd floor. The same artifact, the cursed necklace, which later played a role in Half-Blood Prince, wasn't used either. Many of these elements remained mere references but weren't fully explored. Number 5. The magical mirror. One of the biggest oversights in the adaptation is the magical mirror. In the first part of Deathly Hallows, Harry suddenly finds a shard of the mirror where he sees Dumbledore. In the film, this detail isn't explained, and viewers are left to simply accept it. In the books, the mirror was connected to Sirius, and it would have been interesting to see it in the context of the whole story. Quote from the book. "I want you to take this," he said, handing him a clumsy bundle the size of a small book. "What is it?" "It's so you can let me know if Snape starts tormenting you." The mirror could have played an important role in the film, but its use was limited to a brief appearance. Number 6. Love off-screen. It's also unfortunate that many important events related to the characters were either simplified or completely omitted from the adaptation. For example, the love story between Bill Weasley and Fleur Delacour, their meeting and subsequent events, didn't receive enough attention in the films. The same applies to the relationship between Lupin and Tonks. In the books, their love and tragic death were important moments, but in the films, they were barely shown. Number 7. That person. Finally, an interesting detail in the 5th film, Aunt Petunia, who unexpectedly seems to know about Dementors. This scene, although it seems funny, could have been an important moment in the story if viewers had known that Petunia had actually heard about Dementors from Snape, and this was one of the hidden elements of the plot. Quote from the book, "Who are Dementors, damn them?" "They guard Azkaban, the prison for wizards," Aunt Petunia said. Viewers could have been shocked to learn that this was the creepy man Petunia had once listened to. Number 8. Magical books and hidden connections. In the world of Harry Potter, books are far more than sources of knowledge. They are magical artifacts in their own right, holding secrets that shape the very fabric of the wizarding world. Take the Half-Blood Prince, for example. It's not just a textbook for potion making. Within its pages lies a hidden truth that could change the course of Harry's life. The book belongs to someone much darker, someone whose soul has been deliberately hidden in the most important artifacts. As Harry discovers, the strange annotations in the book are not just random musings, they are part of a larger, dangerous plan. The Half-Blood Prince, Harry wonders, who was he really? But the films leave the deeper significance of the book unaddressed. In the books we learn that Tom Riddle, later known as Voldemort, intentionally hid parts of his soul in significant objects, including this book. If the films had explored this connection, it would have been a shocking revelation, showing that Harry's path is bound to Voldemort's in ways he never imagined. The Half-Blood Prince wasn't just a guide to potions, it was a key to unlocking a dark legacy that ties Harry's fate to the Dark Lords more tightly than anyone realized. Number 9. Resurrection through sacrifice. One of the most significant missed details in the films is how Voldemort uses Harry's blood for his resurrection. In the books, the process is far more intricate than just a dark ritual. Blood magic is described as a powerful, layered form of magic that not only requires a sacrifice but also binds the lives of two beings together. "The Dark Lord is in your debt," says Wormtail in The Goblet of Fire, referring to the blood that Voldemort uses to regain his full strength. The ritual is complex, and the connection it creates between Harry and Voldemort is crucial. The films barely scratch the surface, leaving out the deeper implications of why Harry's blood is so essential to Voldemort's return. What does it mean for Harry that his very essence is tied to the Dark Lord's survival? How does this blood bond affect their fates? These unanswered questions leave room for further exploration. A more detailed explanation in the series could have added layers to the story, showing how Harry's death was not just a tragic consequence, but a key to Voldemort's ultimate rebirth. Number 10. Hogwarts, Other Secrets of the School. One of the most missed opportunities in the films is the exploration of Hogwarts' hidden, forgotten secrets, places and chambers we only catch glimpses of in the books. Hogwarts is more than just a school, it's a labyrinth of mysteries, from its underground dungeons to secret doors and magical barriers. In the Chamber of Secrets, we hear about the legendary hidden chamber, but there are so many more forgotten corners of the school. The room where the sorting hat was once kept. It's a place of power, Dumbledore hints, but we never truly see how much of Hogwarts holds lost magic and secrets of the past. For example, the ancient, abandoned rooms once used by Hogwarts founders are barely touched upon. If Harry and his friends had uncovered these hidden spaces, they could have revealed forgotten magical practices or clues to Voldemort's past. These hidden rooms could have turned the plot in unexpected directions, unveiling deeper layers of Hogwarts history, making the school itself not just a setting, but a character full of untold stories. Number 11, Guardians and their magic. In the books, Harry frequently encounters wizards who possess ancient magic, individuals whose power and knowledge have been passed down through generations. These characters play a critical role in his battle against Voldemort, yet the films barely scratch the surface of their importance. Take Sirius Black, for example. Not only was he a key figure in the fight against Voldemort, but he was also a keeper of one of Hogwarts' hidden magical secrets. His family had guarded this secret for centuries, and Harry's discovery of it was part of his journey into understanding the deeper forces at play in the wizarding world. "The truth is, I'm not the last of the Blacks, Harry," Sirius says, revealing the complex legacy he carries. Had the films explored these ancient ties to magic, it would have added layers to the story, showing how Harry's fate is intertwined with generations of magical guardians. The concept of magical guardians, ancient keepers of secrets, is central to the progression of the plot, especially regarding the founding families of Hogwarts. In the Deathly Hallows, we learn that these families have hidden legacies and magical artifacts like the Sword of Gryffindor or the Resurrection Stone that hold immense power. The films miss an opportunity to delve into how these guardians shaped the history of the wizarding world and how Harry, by carrying the torch of their legacy, becomes part of something greater than himself. "It was Dumbledore who found me the sword," Harry reflects in the final book. Understanding how the sword, an ancient magical artifact, was passed down through generations to him. By exploring these guardians and their role in preserving magical traditions, the films could have given Harry's journey a richer, more profound context. Number 12. The influence of fate. Harry Potter's fate was intertwined with the magical world from the moment he was born. Yet in the films we rarely see how Harry's decisions shape his destiny. In the books, his growing awareness of his role as the Chosen One is a key element of his journey. Each choice he makes, no matter how small, carries weight. Take, for examples, when Harry chooses to enter the Triwizard Tournament despite the dangers. He didn't know it then, but that decision would set in motion a series of events that brought him face to face with Voldemort. "I didn't put my name in the Goblet of Fire," Harry says, frustrated, yet his decision to participate would eventually alter the course of the entire war. The films, however, don't explore how much Harry struggles with the knowledge that his fate isn't his alone. He's constantly pushed by forces outside his control, but his internal battle with self-doubt often goes unnoticed. In the Order of the Phoenix, Harry begins to understand that his role is more than just a prophecy. It's about his actions and choices. "You are the one who must be the one to defeat Voldemort," Dumbledore tells him, but Harry struggles with this responsibility. His actions, however small, guide the future. He wonders if he's capable of living up to this legacy, but he steps forward nonetheless. It's a constant dance between destiny and free will. In the films, we see Harry fighting against Voldemort, but we miss the depth of his inner conflict. We don't see the weight of his decisions, how each step toward facing Voldemort is also a step toward facing himself. The movies skip over the essence of his struggle to decide if he can truly control his future or if he's bound by fate. The theme of fate is not just about what Harry must do to stop Voldemort, but also about how he navigates his own path. The Deathly Hallows gives us an example of Harry's internal journey when he decides to sacrifice himself to defeat Voldemort. This moment is not just about bravery, it's about choice. Harry is ready to face death, knowing it may be the only way to destroy the Dark Lord. "I am ready to die," Harry tells Hermione and Ron, his voice steady, though his heart is torn. This acceptance of his fate is not passive. It is a decision, one he makes not out of obligation, but because he understands that his role in the world of magic is not just a prophecy, but a choice he makes every day. Number 13, the dark side of Gryffindor. Gryffindor House is often seen as a symbol of courage and honor, yet there's a darker side to its legacy, one that is seldom explored in the films. The house's defining traits, bravery, determination, sometimes come at a cost. Take James Potter, for instance. In his youth, James was admired for his boldness, but he also had a reckless streak. He was notorious for bullying Severus Snape, a habit that would shape their animosity for years. James Potter was so much like Harry. He was a bully, Snape once bitterly recalled. The films gloss over this darker aspect of James's character, focusing instead on his heroic deeds. But in the books, it's clear that his actions as a young man were far from flawless, adding complexity to his character and the legacy he left for Harry. This moment, his arrogance, his lack of empathy, has consequences. It wasn't just a schoolyard fight, it was a seed of bitterness that shaped Snape's future, and eventually Harry's own. These imperfections, often hidden behind Gryffindor's bold reputation, reveal a side of the house that is rarely acknowledged. The films focus on the glory of bravery, but they neglect the darker impulses that can arise from unchecked ambition. Harry, like his father, also struggles with the impulse to act first, think later. In the Goblet of Fire, Harry impulsively enters the Triwizard Tournament, putting his life at risk without fully considering the consequences. "I'm not going to let anyone stop me," Harry decides, showing the same rash determination that James did as a teenager. This decision, made in the heat of the moment, serves as a reminder that bravery, while noble, can sometimes blind one to the risks involved. The deeper implications of this trait, especially for a Gryffindor, are left largely unexplored in the films, but in the books it is clear that this house is not without its flaws. The dark side of Gryffindor could also be seen in how Harry's impulsiveness often leads him into trouble. His reckless decision to hunt down Voldemort's Horcruxes, despite not fully understanding the risks, mirrors the youthful arrogance of James. "You don't get it, Ron," Harry insists, unable to see the danger he's walking into. Just as James's arrogance alienated Snape, Harry's quick decisions alienate him from his friends. These moments of impulsive action are essential to understanding Harry's journey, showing that bravery, without thought or reflection, can cause harm to others. It's a constant struggle for Harry to balance his courage with caution, and this inner battle is a key aspect of his growth, making Gryffindor's noble ideals more complex and human. In the books, these darker elements of Gryffindor's legacy add layers to the character's development, enriching the story. The films, by focusing on the more heroic aspects of the house, miss an opportunity to explore the psychological consequences of being a Gryffindor. Harry's struggles with pride, impulsiveness, and a desire to prove himself are not just growing pains. They are the consequences of the very traits that define Gryffindor House. This inner conflict, the tension between courage and recklessness, could have deepened the emotional resonance of the films and made the journey of Harry and his friends feel even more real. Number 14, Hogwarts and its professors. Hogwarts is more than just a school for young witches and wizards. It's a place where fascinating characters teach, shape minds, and sometimes even hold secrets. While iconic figures like Professor McGonagall, Snape, and Dumbledore get the spotlight, many other teachers' stories remain hidden. One such character is Professor Binns, the ghostly history of magic teacher. He floats through the classroom, speaking in a dull monotone detached from the vibrant life around him. In the books, Binns' ghostly existence is a symbol of a forgotten past, someone who no longer feels the pulse of the world he once knew. Professor Binns was in fact a ghost and not a very good teacher, Harry Potter comments, yet his teachings offer a glimpse into the history of magic, a subject often ignored by the living. Binns could bring an element of eerie depth to the story, offering historical perspectives that were lost to the students but crucial for the world they were about to shape. His backstory, filled with mystery and untold adventures, would add layers to the Hogwarts narrative, providing a unique opportunity for a deeper exploration of magic's past. Then there's the ever-changing position of the defense against the dark arts teacher. Every year, a new instructor steps into the classroom, but none stay for long. This revolving door of teachers symbolizes more than just Hogwarts' high turnover rate. It reflects the dangers of dark magic and the toll it takes on those who try to fight it. From Professor Quirrell to Mad-Eye Moody, each teacher offers a different approach to defense, but none can provide the lasting guidance Harry needs. The defense of the dark arts is not an easy subject, and it is not one that can be taught easily. Harry reflects in The Prisoner of Azkaban. The constant change causes confusion, and for Harry, it symbolizes his own struggle with learning to defend himself against the growing threat of Voldemort. This constant flux in Hogwarts' teaching staff could have been explored further, showing how each year shaped Harry's growth, affecting his development as a wizard. These professors, while seemingly minor, could have a profound impact on the narrative. Imagine a moment when Harry confronts a fear or challenge in the defense against the dark arts class, only for it to be a lesson in bravery, trust, and the resilience of learning. Even with a new teacher every year, Harry learns to face darkness, both inside and outside the classroom. The way these teachers influenced Harry's growth could be woven into the story, giving him subtle but critical lessons that prepare him for the greater battle against Voldemort. By focusing on characters like Binns and the rotating defense against the dark arts professors, the series could delve into the depth of Hogwarts itself. These teachers hold more than just lessons in their hands. They hold keys to the story's larger mysteries. Each one could provide new layers of insight into the magical world, the dark history of the wizarding world, and the trials Harry must face. These characters, though brief in their appearances, could bring richness to the storyline that we only see glimpses of in the books, making Hogwarts feel even more alive, complicated, and full of untold potential. Number 15, the magic we don't see. In the Harry Potter universe, J.K. Rowling masterfully creates a world where magic flows through every aspect of life. However, as we watch the films, we often only glimpse the surface of this magic. We see the spells, the potions, and the enchanted artifacts, but we miss out on a deeper, more profound understanding of the magical world. The books, on the other hand, offer a glimpse into the hidden aspects of this universe, magical theories, forgotten spells, and the darker corners of magic. These are the layers of magic that could have enriched the films, offering a more profound, almost scholarly exploration of the magical world. Take, for instance, the field of ancient magic. While Harry and his friends encounter various forms of magic throughout the series, the films provide only a cursory glance at the more profound aspects of magical history and theory. In the books, we learn that ancient magic holds deep roots in the wizarding world, yet we barely scratch the surface. For example, when Harry finds out that the Elder Wand, the most powerful wand in existence, is part of a much broader historical narrative, it's clear that there's a vast untapped history of magical knowledge. A deeper exploration of this history could have added layers of complexity to the story, showing how magic evolves over time and how ancient spells are tied to the history of the wizarding world. Harry and his friends might have come into contact with ancient magical artifacts or met with scholars studying forgotten magic, uncovering long-lost secrets that shape the world they know. One such potential story could revolve around a character like Professor Binns, the ghostly history of magic teacher at Hogwarts. Though his classes are notoriously dull, the character of Binns offers a potential treasure trove of untold magical history. What if he had been more than just a forgettable ghost? Perhaps he could have served as a guide to Harry and his friends, showing them ancient magical practices, forgotten spells, or the philosophical foundations of magic. Instead of simply teaching dates and events, Binns could have been the gateway to a deeper understanding of magic, challenging the students to think beyond the spells and charms they use daily and into the roots of their power. In this alternate scenario, Harry might find himself intrigued by Binns's lessons, not just because of the history itself, but because they begin to question how magic affects their lives and their world. Imagine Harry and his friends diving into magical texts that explore the roots of spells, discovering how certain charms were developed from centuries of magical experimentation and the scientific principles behind them. This could add a layer of depth to their magical education, showing that the world of wizards is not just one of whimsy, but of knowledge, philosophy, and intellectual pursuit. Another interesting avenue that was not fully explored in the films is the study of magical theory. In the books, we are introduced to various subjects that go beyond the basics of spellcasting. Subjects like the theory of magic, its ethical use, and even the darker aspects of magical practice. Take, for example, the concept of blood purity, which is a central theme in the series. While the concept is introduced in the films, it is never fully explored in a deeper, more philosophical context. The wizarding world's obsession with blood status and the way it shapes the magical community could have been an entire storyline in itself, addressing questions of race, inequality, and the ethics of magical power. In the books, we learn that certain ancient spells and magical practices are reserved for pure-blood wizards. This ties directly into the racial and cultural divisions within the magical community. However, there is so much more to be explored here. How did these beliefs come about? Why does magic, as an innate ability, become tied to bloodlines? A subplot focused on Harry and his friends trying to learn about the ancient, darker forms of magic, spells and rituals that were once considered too dangerous to be practiced, would add intrigue to the story and shed light on the darker aspects of magical history. Perhaps an episode could have been dedicated to a wizarding scholar or an eccentric magical historian who studies these ancient forbidden spells. The character could have led Harry and his friends through dusty archives, uncovering dangerous spells that had been hidden away for centuries. As they delved deeper, they could have encountered the moral dilemmas surrounding these spells, whether the pursuit of knowledge justifies the risk of unleashing powerful dark magic into the world. And two, this would not only have made for an intriguing narrative, but would also have added a layer of intellectual complexity to the wizarding world, making magic something to be studied, respected, and questioned, rather than merely a tool for adventure. Number 16. Relationships with parents. In the world of Harry Potter, relationships with parents are often central to the growth and decisions of the characters. The novels, through their detailed storytelling, allow us to see the profound impact that love, loyalty, and the absence of parental guidance have on each individual. These relationships form a backbone for the heroes and villains alike, but unfortunately the films, in their quest to condense such a vast and intricate narrative, overlook the depth of these familial connections. One could argue that the most significant missed opportunity in the adaptation of Harry Potter is the lack of exploration into the parental relationships and how they shape the choices of the characters. Take, for instance, the relationship between Harry Potter and his parents, Lily and James Potter. The tragedy of their deaths, though central to Harry's life, is not fully explored in the films. In the books, we learn that Harry was only a baby when his parents were murdered by Lord Voldemort. The fact that Harry grew up without the love and protection of his parents shaped his entire world. The guilt Harry often feels, thinking that he failed them by not being able to protect them, is an emotional burden that weighs on him throughout the series. This weight isn't only the result of his loss, but of the overwhelming sense of responsibility that Harry feels to live up to their memory, to embody their courage, and to fight for what they died for. The sacrificial love of Lily, who died trying to protect him, becomes a beacon of courage and resilience for Harry. This understanding of parental love and loss profoundly affects Harry's decisions, like his ability to trust others, to love and to sacrifice for the greater good. He is deeply shaped by the fact that his parents, even in death, are a guiding presence, urging him to stay true to his values. The legacy of James and Lily also influences Harry's relationships with others. His interactions with Sirius Black, for example, are laden with the weight of shared history. Sirius was one of Harry's father's closest friends, and for Harry, Sirius represents a link to his parents. While the films touch on this bond, the books delve into how Harry's emotional attachment to Sirius was rooted not just in the friendship between the two men, but in the parental love that Sirius embodied. He became the father figure Harry never had, albeit with his own flaws and mistakes. Yet this relationship was shaped by the ghost of Harry's parents. Sirius's guidance, his protection, and his eventual death made Harry realize just how deeply the absence of his parents impacted his emotional development. This could have been further explored in the films, as it is a central part of Harry's emotional evolution. In stark contrast, the Weasley family's dynamic offers a glimpse into how strong parental bonds shape the growth of children. Ron Weasley, for instance, has a complicated relationship with his brothers. Although the films depict his sense of rivalry, especially with Percy, the books dive deeper into the emotional complexities of their sibling relationships. Ron's feelings of inferiority, being the youngest and overshadowed by his older brothers, are often overshadowed by his devotion to his family. The lack of attention he receives from his parents compared to his brothers, especially Percy, who is always striving for more, leaves Ron grappling with his self-worth. Despite this, Ron's loyalty to his family and his sense of duty towards them are always at the forefront of his actions. He often feels that he needs to prove himself not just to his family, but to the world. This dynamic isn't just a typical sibling rivalry, but a significant part of Ron's character development. His feelings of being the forgotten son in the family, overshadowed by his brother's achievements, fuel much of his personal struggles. Meanwhile, Percy's relationship with his parents is one of the most telling in the series. Percy's desire for respect and recognition, especially from his parents, ultimately leads him down a path of alienation. His ambition and sense of duty often make him dismissive of his family's values, particularly those of his father, Arthur Weasley, who values love, humor, and loyalty above all else. Percy's belief that success in the Ministry of Magic will bring him validation leads him to isolate himself from his family, culminating in a tragic moment of betrayal during the events surrounding Voldemort's rise to power. His return to the Weasley family, however, signifies not just a reconciliation with them, but also an emotional maturation. Percy's journey of redemption is deeply tied to the values his parents instilled in him, values he had initially rejected in pursuit of ambition. The Weasley family's dynamic also sheds light on the role of Molly and Arthur Weasley in shaping the lives of their children. Molly Weasley's maternal affection for her children, particularly the way she protects them from the dangers of the wizarding world, is a source of strength for the family. Her role as a mother is not just about nurturing, but also about instilling the importance of family loyalty. The Weasley family is a unit built on love and sacrifice, and this forms the basis of the Weasley children's moral compasses. Molly and Arthur's marriage, their unwavering support for each other, and their shared values provide a stark contrast to the tumultuous relationships seen in other families, such as the Malfoys. Number 17. The magical justice system. In the world of Harry Potter, much of the attention is directed toward the grandiose magical battles, the heroic journeys, and the conflicts between good and evil. However, one aspect of the magical world that remains largely unexplored is the intricate and complex system of magical justice. While we see the Ministry of Magic wield significant power, particularly through characters like Cornelius Fudge, the true mechanics of magical law, its trials, investigations, and inherent flaws remain shrouded in mystery. The novels themselves give us a glimpse into this neglected area, particularly in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix, where we witness a trial that highlights some of the darkest corners of the magical legal system. One of the earliest and most telling examples of the system's dysfunction occurs when Harry Potter is accused of using magic outside of school in the presence of Muggles. The trial in front of the Wizengamot, the highest magical court, serves as an eye-opener into the workings of the Ministry of Magic. Despite Harry's innocence, the very fact that he's put on trial for defending himself with magic is a troubling reflection of a system that seems more interested in upholding the status quo than ensuring justice. The trial is not about whether Harry did the right thing by using magic to save himself from a threat, but rather about whether the Ministry can control and punish those who defy its rigid rules. Even though Harry is acquitted in the end, the trial is a clear demonstration of the Ministry's willingness to exert authority over young witches and wizards, particularly when they act outside its approved boundaries. Moreover, the trial is not just a matter of legal procedure, it's a deeply political affair. The Ministry of Magic, under the leadership of Cornelius Fudge, is concerned primarily with maintaining its image and power, particularly in the face of growing threats from Lord Voldemort's return. Fudge's desire to maintain control of the magical world means that he is willing to sacrifice fairness and justice in order to protect his own position. Throughout the books, this theme of political influence over legal matters is a recurring issue, one that could have been further explored to deepen the complexities of the wizarding world. What is justice when those in power manipulate the system to serve their own interests? One of the most striking missed opportunities in the magical legal system is the case of Sirius Black. Sirius, a man wrongly accused of betraying his friends and causing the deaths of multiple people, spends 12 years in Azkaban without a fair trial. The tragic irony of his situation is that he was imprisoned not only without evidence but also without any consideration for the possibility of his innocence. The very notion of Azkaban, a prison known for its use of dementors, is a reflection of the and unforgiving nature of the magical justice system. Even worse, the Ministry of Magic, in its blind determination to maintain order, refuses to acknowledge the possibility that Sirius could have been framed by someone else. His case is a tragic example of how the magical justice system fails to protect the innocent, especially when powerful figures like Lord Voldemort or Severus Snape manipulate the truth. What makes Sirius's story even more tragic is the fact that his innocence is revealed only through Harry's own investigation and the uncovering of the truth by a handful of characters who believe in justice. The fact that Harry, Ron, and Hermione must take matters into their own hands in order to clear Sirius's name speaks volumes about the flaws within the magical legal system. In a world where so much magic is devoted to powerful spells and intricate charms, one would expect a more sophisticated approach to criminal justice. Instead, we see a system that, much like the Ministry of Magic itself, is riddled with corruption, political agendas, and an almost complete disregard for fairness. Sirius's wrongful imprisonment is not just a personal tragedy, but a damning commentary on the magical world's inability to provide justice when it's most needed. Even within the ministry itself, we see how the pursuit of justice is often overshadowed by corruption. The ministry's decision to imprison Sirius despite the lack of concrete evidence illustrates a deep-seated flaw in the system, a tendency to rush to conclusions based on fear, prejudice, and political convenience. Fudge's own failure to investigate the truth, his desire to keep the peace at all costs, and his manipulation of the public opinion all reveal the corrupt nature of a system that values power over truth. This aspect of magical justice could have been expanded upon, providing a more nuanced view of how institutions of power can fail their citizens when they prioritize control and order over fairness and due process. The case of Barty Crouch Jr., who is secretly allowed to remain free despite his crimes, further underscores the failure of the magical legal system. His ability to deceive the ministry and escape justice for so long is a stark reminder of the vulnerabilities in a system that is supposed to protect the wizarding community. Crouch Jr.'s escape, coupled with the eventual revelation of his crimes, demonstrates how even the most supposedly secure institutions within the ministry can be manipulated or undermined. The fact that he is only captured after being exposed by Harry and his friends highlights the failure of the ministry's investigative bodies and the lack of effective law enforcement. Number 18, Secrets of the School of Magic. Hogwarts, the magical castle that serves as the heart of the Harry Potter series, is far more than just a school. It is a living, breathing labyrinth, layered with secrets, mysteries, and histories long forgotten by most. Within its towering spires and shadowy hallways lie countless untold stories, stories that extend beyond the typical classroom lessons of potion making and broomstick flying. The novels reveal a depth of Hogwarts history, ancient practices, and hidden rooms that are barely touched upon in the films. These elements of magical intrigue are among the most compelling features of J.K. Rowling's world, yet they remain largely unexplored in the cinematic adaptations. One of the most intriguing aspects of Hogwarts is its hidden architecture. The school itself is more like a maze than a simple institution of learning. It is filled with secret corridors, rooms that appear and disappear at will, and forgotten spaces that only a select few are lucky or unlucky enough to stumble upon. In the books, Harry, Hermione, and Ron frequently find themselves navigating these labyrinthine hallways, uncovering secrets and mysteries hidden deep within the castle's walls. These secrets are not always revealed with a grand fanfare or dramatic reveal, but are instead slowly woven into the fabric of the story. For example, in The Chamber of Secrets, the trio discovers the existence of the secretive Room of Requirement, a place that appears only when it is needed. This hidden room, however, is just one of many such spaces tucked away in the school's ancient structure. The Room of Requirement itself is a perfect example of Hogwarts' mystical nature. It is a room that appears only when someone is in desperate need of it. Harry first stumbles upon it when he is searching for a place to hide from Umbridge's inquisitorial squad, and it transforms into a sanctuary for Dumbledore's army, where students can practice their magic in secret. It's not just a room, but a manifestation of the school's deep connection to the magic that pulses through its walls. The room itself seems to be aware of the needs of those who seek it, adjusting its form and contents accordingly. This room alone is a testament to Hogwarts' magical complexity, hinting at the broader, hidden forces that govern the school's inner workings. There is also the enigma of the secret passageways and concealed corridors that seem to exist only in legend. While many of these secret paths are discovered by the students over the course of their adventures, their true nature remains largely unexplored. For instance, in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, the characters find a hidden passage that leads directly from the Shrieking Shack to the Whomping Willow. This is just one example of the many secret routes that wind through the school, suggesting that Hogwarts was built with more than just the curriculum in mind. These passages, known only to a select few, are remnants of a bygone era, hidden in plain sight, waiting for someone to uncover their secret. In addition to its hidden architecture, Hogwarts is steeped in a rich history of ancient magical practices that are almost completely ignored in the films. One of the most notable practices that are barely touched upon is the use of old spells and charms, some of which date back to the school's founding. These ancient magics are mentioned in passing, but their deeper significance is never fully explored. For example, the Carpe Diem spell, mentioned briefly in the Goblet of Fire, is a charm that could have provided students with an entire field of study. Its use would have opened up fascinating avenues for magical research and exploration, yet it is left by the wayside in favor of more familiar spells like Wingardium Leviosa and Expelliarmus. Similarly, the concept of blood magic, which is briefly referenced in The Half-Blood Prince, is another aspect of Hogwarts' magical world that could have been explored more deeply. Blood magic, a dangerous and powerful form of magic, is outlawed by the Ministry of Magic, but its history and practice are deeply intertwined with the school's past. For instance, the dark wizard Salazar Slytherin is said to have used blood magic to create the basilisk hidden in the Chamber of Secrets. This powerful form of magic, tied to the idea of blood purity, remains a shadowy and underexplored element of the story, one that could have added a layer of complexity to the school's history. The hidden history of Hogwarts also extends to its founders, each of whom left behind their own legacies and secrets. Salazar Slytherin, for example, is the founder of Slytherin House, a house that has long been associated with dark magic and blood purity. While much is made of the rivalry between Slytherin and Gryffindor, the actual history of their conflict remains vague. The school was founded by 4 wizards and witches with very different philosophies, and their differing views on magic and society created an atmosphere of tension that would continue to affect the school for centuries. The full scope of this conflict and its lasting impact on the school's culture is only hinted at in the books. In fact, much of the founders' history is obscured, leaving behind a legacy of questions that are never fully answered. Among the many mysteries surrounding Hogwarts is the question of the school's magical artifacts and treasures. The films focus primarily on the more famous artifacts, such as the Sword of Gryffindor and the Philosopher's Stone, but there are countless other magical objects hidden throughout the school, many of which are mentioned only in passing. For example, the Mirror of Erised, which is featured prominently in the Philosopher's Stone, is an object that can show the deepest desires of a person's heart. The mirror's true power and the implications of its existence are explored only briefly, yet it is a powerful symbol of the longing and desires that define much of the magical world. There are other such objects hidden throughout the school, each with its own story and purpose, but most of them remain a mystery to the students and faculty alike. One particularly intriguing mystery is the existence of the Grey Lady, the ghost of Ravenclaw House. The Grey Lady, also known as Helena Ravenclaw, is said to have stolen her mother's diadem, an artifact of immense magical power. This diadem, which plays a pivotal role in the hunt for Horcruxes, is hidden within the school, and its location is known only to a few. The Grey Lady's tragic story and the diadem's significance are never fully explored in the films, but they add a layer of complexity to Hogwarts' history, suggesting that the school is not just a place of learning, but a site of deep, unresolved mysteries. In the same vein, the presence of the school's ghosts is another aspect of Hogwarts that is only briefly touched upon. The ghosts, each with their own tragic backstory, could have provided a rich source of history and magical lore. Nearly Headless Nick, the ghost of Gryffindor House, for instance, has a tragic tale of his own that is only partially explored. His refusal to fully die and his lingering attachment to the school could have been the subject of an entire subplot, but it is left to the margins of the story. The magical practices and forgotten knowledge of Hogwarts are not only part of the school's history, but also its present. The students who attend Hogwarts are frequently surrounded by the relics of the past, but they rarely delve deeply into the mysteries that lie hidden in the school's walls. The books hint at the existence of a magical underworld within Hogwarts, a place where the school's history is not just learned but lived. This is not merely a matter of academic curiosity, it is a matter of survival. Harry and his friends are constantly uncovering these hidden truths, each discovery adding a new layer of complexity to their understanding of the world they inhabit. Hogwarts, with all its secrets, is more than just a school. It is a place where history is made, forgotten, and rediscovered. The mysteries that lie within its walls are not just academic puzzles, but essential parts of the magical world that shapes the lives of its students. These mysteries, many of which remain unexplored, are the true heart of the story. Without them, Hogwarts would merely be a school of magic. With them, it becomes a place of adventure, discovery, and wonder. Number 19. Hidden motives of professors. At Hogwarts, the professors are more than just teachers. They are guardians of secrets, wielders of magic with their own hidden lives, shadows of past struggles that shaped them into the figures they have become. The films often limit them to their roles as mentors or authority figures, neatly categorized as the strict disciplinarian or the nurturing guide. However, in the books it becomes clear that each professor at Hogwarts holds a deeper story, a story of personal battles, unspoken fears, and complex desires that are mostly left untold. The motivations behind their actions are intricate and multifaceted, revealing much about their true selves. Let's explore these hidden layers and how they shape the actions of some of Hogwarts' most prominent figures, who often act as more than mere educators. Severus Snape, perhaps the most complex character of them all, is a prime example of the hidden motivations that could have been further explored in the series. While the films focus on his role as a seemingly cold and hostile potions master, the books unfold his past, revealing a man driven by pain, guilt, and deep, unwavering loyalty. Snape's motivations, although clouded by his often harsh demeanor, are rooted in the profound love he had for Lily Potter, which extends far beyond the boundaries of simple affection. His deep attachment to her and the subsequent betrayal he felt when she married James Potter shaped the rest of his life. Throughout the series, Snape's actions often seem inexplicable or even malicious, but as Harry learns at the end of the story, Snape's true allegiance was always with Dumbledore. His role as a double agent, his hatred for Harry, and even his unyielding bitterness toward Gryffindor House can all be understood as pieces of a larger tragic puzzle, a tragedy born of love lost and a lifetime of regret. Minerva McGonagall's attachment to Gryffindor House is another subtle yet significant aspect of her character that could have been expanded upon. While McGonagall is frequently portrayed as the embodiment of fairness and discipline, her deep emotional connection to Gryffindor goes beyond house pride. In her youth, McGonagall was not just an accomplished witch, but a fierce and determined young woman who witnessed the tumultuous events of the First Wizarding War. She was close to many of the key figures who shaped the fate of the wizarding world, including Albus Dumbledore and even Sirius Black. Her commitment to Gryffindor is rooted in a sense of loyalty and loss, and much of her sternness could be attributed to her desire to instill strength and courage in the students she teaches. McGonagall's devotion to Harry, in particular, is more than just a professor's sense of duty. It is the result of her own personal experience with loss and sacrifice. Her relationship with her house is not simply one of loyalty, but also of deep personal healing, a way to find hope in a world that has been forever marked by grief. Remus Lupin, the werewolf Defense Against the Dark Arts professor, is a character whose suffering is often overlooked. Lupin's condition, his lycanthropy, was a constant source of personal anguish and shame. It is easy to forget that Lupin's struggle was not merely about the fear of transforming into a werewolf, but also about the societal prejudice he faced as a result. His illness isolated him, making him a man who could not fully belong anywhere. He constantly hid his true nature from those around him, fearing rejection. Lupin's decision to work at Hogwarts was not just to teach, but to find a place where he could, for once, feel accepted. His genuine kindness toward Harry and the other students stems from his own painful experiences with rejection and loneliness. Lupin's battle with his inner demons is compounded by the knowledge that he is constantly putting those he cares about in danger. His personal sacrifices are often overlooked as he quietly endures, all the while serving as a mentor to the very students who will one day face their own battles. Then there is Dolores Umbridge, the tyrannical professor of defense against the dark arts, whose twisted sense of justice makes her a figure of pure antagonism. In the films, Umbridge is often portrayed as the embodiment of pure evil, an authoritarian figure who delights in punishing students. But her motivations are not as clear-cut as they seem. Umbridge's need to control and her cruelty stem from a deep-seated desire for validation and power. As a half-blood witch in a world dominated by pure blood ideals, Umbridge feels the sting of societal rejection. Her need to maintain control and enforce her own moral code arises from a lifetime of feeling inferior and overlooked. Unlike other professors, Umbridge's greatest fear is being marginalized. Her cruel tactics in Hogwarts are not just about inflicting pain, but about securing her place in a world that does not fully accept her. Umbridge represents a corrupted version of ambition, a woman who would do anything to prove her worth, even if it means destroying those around her. The story of Horace Slughorn, the potions master, who values ambition and connections above all else, is another fascinating exploration of hidden motives. Slughorn, unlike the other professors, is not driven by a deep personal tragedy or a quest for redemption. Rather, his motivations are rooted in self-preservation and a desire to be recognized by the right people. His obsession with collecting the most talented and influential students, those who can one day help him secure his place in history, is driven by his fear of being forgotten. Slughorn is not a villain, but his actions reveal a subtle self-interest, one that contrasts sharply with the selfless motives of characters like Dumbledore. However, Slughorn's ultimate regret, the discovery of his role in Voldemort's rise, shows that his personal ambitions came at a steep cost. His character serves as a reminder that not all motivations stem from altruism or tragedy. Sometimes they are rooted in human insecurities and the fear of being overlooked. Another professor whose backstory could have been explored further is Professor Binns, the ghostly history of magic teacher. Binns is often regarded as an outdated figure, but his ghostly existence raises many questions. His ghostly detachment from the world around him is a metaphor for his personal indifference toward life itself. His passion for history, while admirable, seems detached from the real human experience. Binns could have been an intriguing character to explore, as his ghostly form suggests that he has unresolved issues with his own life. His lack of emotional connection to the present world raises the possibility that he may have failed to find personal fulfillment during his lifetime, choosing instead to immerse himself in the past. Binns's story could have added a layer of melancholy to the wizarding world, a tale of a man who, despite his immortality, could not find meaning in his own existence. Hagrid, the lovable half-giant, provides yet another example of a professor whose motivations are often reduced to the basics of his character. A kind-hearted, if somewhat bumbling, giant who loves magical creatures. But Hagrid's personal history is much more complex. His fall from grace after being wrongfully accused of opening the Chamber of Secrets and his subsequent exile from the wizarding community left him with a deep sense of alienation. Hagrid's attachment to Harry is rooted not only in his affection for the boy, but also in his desire to prove that he is not the monster the world believes him to be. Hagrid's decisions, from keeping dangerous creatures to defying authority, are driven by a need to protect those who are vulnerable, having seen firsthand how easy it is for the world to judge and cast aside those who are different. His kindness is a shield against the pain of his past, and his loyalty to Harry reflects a deep-seated desire to right the wrongs that were done to him. Finally, there's the enigmatic figure of Albus Dumbledore, the headmaster whose motives are often shrouded in mystery. While he is often portrayed as the wise, all-knowing mentor, Dumbledore's actions and decisions are not always clear. His acceptance of Harry's destiny, his complicated relationship with Grindelwald, and his role in shaping the events that lead to Voldemort's downfall reveal a man torn between ideals. Pragmatism. Dumbledore's decisions, particularly those involving Harry, are often influenced by a sense of guilt over his past, especially his mistakes in his youth. His love for his sister Ariana and his past relationship with Grindelwald shaped his worldview and his actions, and his willingness to manipulate events for the greater good speaks to the moral complexities that even the most revered leaders must face. In each of these professors, there is a hidden world of motivations, fears, and desires that could have been explored further. Their stories are not just those of educators, they are tales of people who carry with them the weight of their experiences, shaped by personal history and the choices they've made. In the end, it is this hidden complexity that makes them some of the most fascinating characters in the Harry Potter series. Number 20. Magic and its connection to nature. In J.K. Rowling's world of Harry Potter, magic is often portrayed as an abstract force that can be harnessed with the right incantations and wands. However, when we delve deeper into the magical realm presented in the books, we begin to see that magic is more than just a series of spells. It is intricately connected to nature. The connection between magic and the natural world is a theme that is subtly woven into the fabric of the story, and yet it is often underexplored in the films. There is a missed opportunity in the cinematic portrayal to delve into how magic interacts with the environment, shaping not only the magical world itself, but also the characters who live in it. In the Harry Potter series, plants and creatures of the natural world are not merely background details. They are vital components of magic. One of the first and most notable examples of this is the mandrake. Found in the Hogwarts greenhouses, the mandrake is a magical plant with roots that resemble human infants. And this plant is notorious for its dangerous cry. When harvested, it can cause death to anyone who hears it. Yet this plant is also incredibly valuable, used for its restorative properties, particularly in healing potions. The mandrake embodies the power of nature, showcasing both the beauty and danger that lie within the magical world. Its roots are part of the earth, connected to the soil, and its very existence serves as a reminder that magic, in Rowling's universe, is never detached from the world that sustains it. Similarly, the magical creatures that populate the wizarding world are not merely whimsical additions to the story. From hippogriffs to acromantulas, from thestrals to buckbeak, these creatures are deeply tied to the environment they inhabit. The hippogriff, for instance, is a creature that blends the traits of an eagle and a horse. The hippogriff is not only a symbol of strength and dignity, but also a creature that requires respect for its natural instincts and territory. The interaction between Harry and Buckbeak in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban serves as an important moment in the series. It is a reflection of how the magical world is inextricably tied to the natural world. Buckbeak's pride and his defense of his territory show how magic is not an isolated force, but something that lives and breathes in harmony with the creatures of the earth. Yet it is not only creatures that play a vital role in the natural connection to magic, it is also the very land itself. The Forbidden Forest is one of the most powerful representations of this relationship between magic and nature. The forest is a space where magic is both at its rawest and most unpredictable. It is a place of dark secrets, but also one where magic is untainted by human interference. The trees of the forest seem to stand as ancient sentinels, witnessing generations of witches and wizards using magic in their world. It is in this forest that Harry first learns to confront the more challenging aspects of the magical world, and where he faces creatures like the giant spider Aragog, whose presence is deeply embedded in the fabric of the forest's ecosystem. The Forbidden Forest is also a setting where Harry's relationship with nature, and by extension magic, deepens. For example, during his encounter with the centaurs, Harry finds that the natural world is inhabited by creatures who see the world differently from humans. The centaurs view the movements of the stars and the patterns of the sky as an extension of the Earth's own magic, seeing fate and prophecy in the natural order of the heavens. They have a deep, almost spiritual connection to the cosmos, demonstrating the idea that magic is not only something to be manipulated, but something to be revered, something woven into the very fabric of the universe. The centaur's reverence for the stars highlights the intricate balance between magic and the natural world that exists in the Harry Potter universe, a balance that is often left unexamined in the films. The plants, animals, and magical creatures are not the only ways in which nature's influence is felt throughout the series. Weather, too, is a crucial aspect of the magical world. The effect of weather on the magical community is subtly mentioned but rarely explored in depth. However, there are moments in the books when weather conditions seem to mirror the emotional or magical atmosphere. Take, for instance, the storm that rages during the final battle at Hogwarts. The tempestuous weather seems to echo the chaos and turmoil of the fight, creating an atmosphere of impending doom. In a world where magic flows through wands and incantations, the weather acts as a natural force that cannot be controlled, a reminder that nature itself has a power that no spell can master. The weather is also a crucial element of the magical world's seasonal changes. In Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, the Triwizard Tournament begins in the spring, with the first task taking place in the wake of a cold winter. The connection between the changing seasons and the unfolding of events is an often overlooked aspect of the magical world. Just as nature has its cycles, so too do the lives of the witches and wizards, with the changing of seasons paralleling the growth and challenges faced by the characters. The more subtle, mystical elements of the magical world also show how closely intertwined magic and nature are. Consider the various potions and brews used by witches and wizards. Many of these potions are derived from plants, animals, and minerals found in the natural world. The polyjuice potion, for instance, requires ingredients like lacewing flies, leeches, powdered bicorn horn, and the essence of the dried shavings of powdered boomslang skin. These ingredients reflect the magical properties of nature, showing how magic draws from the earth itself. The connection between the material world and magical energy is more pronounced here, where nature is the true source of magical power, not simply the words of a spell. One of the most fascinating examples of how magic interacts with nature is the case of the Weasley family's garden. Arthur Weasley, who works in the Ministry of Magic, is an avid enthusiast of Muggle inventions, but his wife Molly is the one who manages the household and its magical garden. The Weasleys' garden is a place where plants and magic combine in delightful ways. For example, the garden is home to the magical plant called the fanged geranium, which, much like a carnivorous plant, is both beautiful and dangerous. It symbolizes how magic can be both a nurturing and destructive force, with nature standing as the ultimate judge of how it is used. Perhaps one of the most significant missed opportunities in the films is the potential to explore the way in which nature acts as a mentor and guide to the magical community. For instance, the growth of Harry's understanding of magic is tied to his deepening connection with nature. In his first year at Hogwarts, Harry is introduced to the idea of magical creatures and plants. However, it is later, during his studies in the magical world, that he truly begins to see the importance of nature. The magical world becomes less of an abstract place of wands and potions and more of a living entity, where nature itself becomes a character in the story. The plants, the creatures, the weather, and the landscapes all serve as expressions of the underlying magical energy that connects the characters to the world around them. Throughout the series, nature's role in magic is both mysterious and essential. It is not simply the basis for spells or potions, but a living, breathing force that interacts with magic on every level. Yet in the films, this relationship is often overshadowed by the more overt and dramatic aspects of magic, spells, curses, and battles. If the films had taken more time to explore how magic is rooted in the natural world, the audience could have seen a much deeper, more holistic understanding of the wizarding world. Magic, after all, is not something separate from the earth, but an extension of it. It is both a gift and a responsibility, one that requires a deep respect for the world in which it exists. Number 21. Ancient wizards and their legacy. In the magical world of Harry Potter, ancient magic is more than just a concept. It's an integral part of the history that shapes every corner of the wizarding universe. Although the story of Harry's journey often focuses on the present-day struggle between good and evil, one can't ignore the impact of the past, especially the influence of ancient magicians and their artifacts. The legacy of these figures is not only woven into the very fabric of the wizarding world, but is also a source of power and mystery that remains unexplored, leaving behind a treasure trove of untold stories. The House of Slytherin, for example, is built on the ancient magical principles of ambition, cunning, and the belief in the superiority of pure-blood wizards. Salazar Slytherin, one of Hogwarts' 4 founders, didn't simply create a house to foster these ideals. He embedded his legacy in the very foundation of the school. His dedication to blood purity, combined with his fear of Muggle-born wizards, led to the creation of the Chamber of Secrets. Deep beneath the school, the chamber was home to a basilisk, a terrifying creature that Slytherin used to cleanse the school of those he deemed unworthy. The chamber itself, hidden for centuries, represents the kind of ancient magic that could have shaped the destiny of Hogwarts if it had been more deeply explored. Yet the ancient magic of Slytherin and his time is only one piece of the vast puzzle that is the wizarding world's magical history. The Peverell brothers, Antioch, Cadmus, and Ignotus, were among the earliest known magicians to wield powers that transcended time. They are best remembered for creating the three deathly hallows, the Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone, and the Invisibility Cloak. These items were not mere relics. They were tied to the very essence of life, death, and the afterlife. The stories of the Hallows were passed down through generations, eventually becoming legends. But the significance of these magical items goes beyond their ability to grant immense power. They embody the choices of their original owners, the Peverell brothers, and the very nature of what it means to be a wizard. The Elder Wand, for instance, is not just a weapon of incredible power, but it's a symbol of dominance, a beacon of ancient power that has been passed down through the centuries, often at a terrible price. The stories of these artifacts were handed down through whispered rumors, and rumors turned to myths, yet their origins remain shrouded in mystery. The fact that Harry Potter himself, a descendant of Ignotus Peverell, would come to possess the Cloak of Invisibility speaks volumes about the long-reaching effects of ancient magic on the current generation of wizards. However, despite their importance, the deeper history behind the Hallows is often glossed over in favour of the immediate challenges Harry faces. The fact that they are passed through the generations unnoticed or forgotten speaks to the depth of the wizarding world's history, a history steeped in ancient magic that modern wizards are too quick to dismiss. Moreover, ancient magical tomes and manuscripts hold a wealth of knowledge that could revolutionize how magic is understood and practiced today. In Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Harry stumbles upon the old potions book that once belonged to the mysterious Half-Blood Prince, a figure from a bygone era. The book is filled with forgotten potions, instructions, and techniques that make the art of potion-making seem almost magical in its own right. While it might seem like a minor detail in the grand scheme of things, it speaks to a larger, unexplored world of ancient magical texts and knowledge that was long forgotten by contemporary witches and wizards. There are countless ancient manuscripts that could provide insight into magic's most potent secrets, secrets that are often hidden or lost with time. One such text is the Book of the Dead, an ancient tome referenced in the wizarding world. This book is said to contain forbidden knowledge of the afterlife, rituals, and spells that could raise the dead or open pathways between worlds. Such a book could be incredibly dangerous in the wrong hands, and yet there are no real attempts in the books to delve into its history or potential impact. Its mere existence hints at the possibility of much darker, forbidden magics that could transform the very fabric of the magical world if rediscovered. Another important legacy of the ancient magical world lies in the lost artifacts of past magical wars. The Great Wizarding War, as well as the dark periods that came before it, likely left behind enchanted relics, some of which may still hold tremendous power. While we know about the use of Horcruxes, objects used to hide parts of a dark wizard's soul, this is just the tip of the iceberg. The concept of Horcruxes is a reflection of how ancient magic works at its darkest, but there may be other artifacts lost to time, items that could hold power equal to or even greater than the Elder Wand or the Resurrection Stone. For instance, The mirror of Erised, a simple but profound object, is capable of showing the deepest desires of the heart, yet it is ancient in origin and seems to have its own arcane secrets that are never fully revealed. What other mirrors, relics, or enchanted objects exist in the forgotten corners of the wizarding world? The Goblet of Fire itself is a prime example of how ancient magic manifests in ways we can barely understand. The Triwizard Tournament, with its deadly challenges and complex magic, is steeped in a history that goes beyond the mere spectacle of the event. The goblet, as an ancient magical object, has the power to choose champions based on an unspoken, seemingly sentient logic. How long has it been in existence? And who, among the earliest wizards, created it? These are questions that remain unanswered, but they point to a larger, ancient system of magic that is integral to the world, but barely explored. Even the ancient wizards themselves, like Merlin, the legendary wizard who is often mentioned throughout the books, are part of this mysterious history. Merlin's legacy is marked by his tremendous magical power and his ability to shape the world around him. However, we never fully delve into how his magic influenced the course of history, or how his practices differed from those of contemporary wizards. Was Merlin an anomaly, or was he part of a long line of powerful magicians whose practices have been forgotten or concealed? The potential for exploring these figures, their teachings, and their impact on the present-day magical world is immense. While Harry Potter focuses on the visible struggles of Harry and his friends, there is a much deeper story to be told about the ancient magical world. The wizards and witches of the past, their artifacts, their philosophies, and their secret knowledge are all woven into the very essence of the magical world that Harry inhabits. Their influence can still be seen in the decisions made by those in power, such as the Ministry of Magic's reluctance to embrace change, or the continued dominance of pure-blood ideals within certain circles. The magical world is not a static place. It is built upon centuries of magical knowledge, some of which is far older and far more dangerous than most realize. In a way, the story of Harry Potter is not just the story of a young wizard coming into his own, but also the story of an entire magical history that is largely forgotten or ignored. As Harry confronts the forces of darkness, he is also in many ways confronting the forgotten legacies of the past. The battle between good and evil is, after all, a timeless struggle, one that has been fought for centuries by those who came before. Their stories, their mistakes, and their victories shape the present in ways that are often unseen but undeniably powerful. In the end, the true power of the wizarding world lies not just in the spells or magical creatures that populate it, but in the ancient legacies that continue to shape the course of history. Number 22, Magic and its Responsibility. Magic is a force that runs deep within the world of Harry Potter, weaving itself into every aspect of life in the wizarding world. It is, at its core, a tool of immense power, capable of both creation and destruction. But the central theme of the Harry Potter books is not just the wonder of magic, but the responsibility that comes with it. Throughout the series, magic is not just portrayed as a tool for solving problems, but as a force that requires careful and ethical use, and often its misuse leads to tragic consequences. The world of magic, while filled with enchantment, also carries a weight of moral dilemmas, questions about good and evil, and the dangerous path that can be taken when magic is used irresponsibly. One of the clearest examples of the theme of responsibility in magic comes from the character of Harry Potter himself. Harry is an ordinary boy who, through a twist of fate, is thrust into a world where magic is real. But even from his first steps into the magical world, Harry is confronted with the immense responsibility that comes with his newfound abilities. In Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, Harry discovers that he is not just any wizard, but a boy who survived an attack from one of the darkest wizards in history, Voldemort. This discovery marks the beginning of his journey, but also the start of his understanding that magic is not a tool to be used lightly. As Harry grows older, the consequences of using magic irresponsibly become more apparent. His first encounter with magic, the use of the levitation charm to make the glass at the zoo disappear in the first book, is innocent enough, but it marks the start of a pattern where good intentions often lead to unintended consequences. By Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, Harry is involved in situations that test his moral compass. When he discovers the Chamber of Secrets and the mystery surrounding Tom Riddle's diary, he is faced with the choice of using his magic to solve a problem that threatens his friends, but he is also cautious of overstepping boundaries. The moral line between right and wrong becomes blurred, especially when dealing with powerful, dangerous magic like the diary, which can manipulate and control others. In Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, the concept of time travel adds another layer to the theme of responsibility. When Harry, Hermione and Ron use the Time Turner to travel back in time to save Sirius Black and Buckbeak, they are given a glimpse into the delicate balance of the world and how small actions can have ripple effects. It is a moment of immense power, and they are tasked with making choices that could alter the course of events. It is one of the clearest examples in the series where magic is not just about power, but about restraint and the understanding that there are consequences to every action. No matter how small, Harry's lesson here is that just because something can be done doesn't mean it should be done, a concept that carries significant weight throughout the series. The greatest examples of the moral dilemmas faced by Harry and his friends occur when they confront magic that can lead to destruction. The most notable example is the confrontation with the Dark Lord, Voldemort. Voldemort is a master of using magic irresponsibly, willing to sacrifice lives and souls for his own gain. His belief that power justifies the means is a direct contrast to the ethics that Harry is learning. The battle between Harry and Voldemort is not only a physical one, but a philosophical one about the use of magic to control, dominate, and destroy, versus the use of magic to protect, heal, and help. Throughout the series, Voldemort's reckless use of magic stands as a constant reminder of the dangers of abandoning responsibility in favor of unchecked power. It is not just Voldemort who struggles with the use of magic in the series, however. Even characters who are well-meaning and virtuous are sometimes led astray by their good intentions. The most tragic example of this is the character of Severus Snape. Snape is a complex figure who, despite his harsh demeanor and questionable actions, ultimately seeks to protect Harry and fight against Voldemort. His deep love for Lily Potter drives many of his actions, and this love becomes both his greatest strength and his greatest flaw. Snape uses magic in a way that is calculated and at times manipulative, all for what he believes to be the greater good. However, his actions, while noble in intent, often lead to pain and suffering. He is a character who exemplifies the consequences of magic when it is used with too much secrecy and too little trust in others. Another character who embodies the theme of moral responsibility in magic is Albus Dumbledore. As the headmaster of Hogwarts, Dumbledore is one of the most powerful wizards of his time, yet he is also one of the most cautious in his approach to using magic. His role in the battle against Voldemort is central, but Dumbledore is careful not to let his power consume him. He teaches Harry that the greatest form of magic is love, and that magic must always be tempered with compassion and understanding. In Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, Dumbledore's actions show that even the most powerful wizard must be wary of the potential dangers that come with wielding such power. His decision to keep the Horcruxes hidden and his eventual willingness to die to protect Harry from Voldemort is a stark reminder of the responsibility that comes with knowing too much and having the power to act. The books also offer subtle commentary on the use of magical objects, particularly the Deathly Hallows. The Deathly Hallows, the Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone, and the Invisibility Cloak, each hold immense power, but they also come with heavy costs. The Elder Wand, for example, is the most powerful wand in existence, but its power comes with a blood-stained history of betrayal and death. The Resurrection Stone allows one to communicate with the dead, but as Harry discovers, it is a dangerous temptation that can lead to obsession and despair. These objects highlight the central message of the books, that magic must be handled with care and wisdom. They serve as a constant reminder that power, no matter how great, must be tempered with humility and an understanding of its consequences. The theme of magic and responsibility reaches its peak in the final book, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. Here, the characters are forced to confront the darkest aspects of magic, from the Horcruxes to the final battle at Hogwarts. The stakes have never been higher, and the characters are called upon to make difficult choices that will affect not only their lives, but the entire wizarding world. Throughout this final chapter, Harry and his friends face moral choices that challenge their beliefs, their loyalty, and their understanding of right and wrong. The ultimate triumph of good over evil is not just about defeating Voldemort, but about demonstrating that magic, when used responsibly, can be a force for good, capable of defeating even the darkest powers. But perhaps the most poignant lesson about magic and responsibility comes from the character of Harry himself. Harry is a reluctant hero, constantly burdened by the weight of his past and the expectations placed upon him. Throughout the series, Harry's journey is as much about learning to control his own power as it is about defeating Voldemort. He's not born with all the answers, nor is he perfect. Like every character in the series, Harry struggles with the temptation to use magic for personal gain or to take shortcuts, but in the end, he understands that true strength lies in self-restraint and in using magic for the benefit of others. His decision to sacrifice the Resurrection Stone to face Voldemort without the need for his own victory is the ultimate act of understanding magic's true purpose, not to dominate, but to protect and to love. The Harry Potter series explores the depths of human nature, morality, and the consequences of power, all through the lens of magic. Magic, in its many forms, is a tool that can shape the world, but it also demands a sense of responsibility, a recognition of its potential for both good and evil. It is a theme that runs through the entire series, from the innocent charms of childhood to the life-altering decisions of adulthood. It is a lesson that speaks not just to wizards, but to all who wield power, that the true measure of strength lies not in the ability to control, but in the wisdom to know when to act and when to refrain. Number 23. Myths and legends of the magical world. In the magical world of Harry Potter, countless myths, legends, and ancient tales float like shadows in the corners of history, subtly influencing the world's current events. These myths are not just simple stories. They shape the beliefs, the politics, and even the very magic that pervades the wizarding world. Though J.K. Rowling masterfully wove some of these ancient stories into the fabric of the books, there remains much untold. Myths like the tale of the three brothers, the fabled Deathly Hallows, or the legend of Salazar. Slytherin and his obsession with blood purity could have been more than mere background details. They could have served as powerful keys to unlocking the mysteries of the wizarding world, offering deeper insight into the actions and motivations of its characters. Take, for example, the myth of the three brothers introduced in the Tales of Beedle the Bard. This ancient story, passed down through the ages, tells of three brothers who cheat death and are granted three powerful objects by Death himself: the Elder Wand, the Resurrection Stone, and the Invisibility Cloak. These three objects, collectively known as the Deathly Hallows, become central to the plot of Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. The legend not only serves as the foundation for the search for these powerful magical items, but also mirrors the struggles of the characters, particularly Harry, as he confronts death and the choices that come with it. The Deathly Hallows are not just magical artifacts. They represent the themes of mortality, power, and the consequences of desire. Had the myth of the three brothers been more deeply explored, one might wonder how it would have influenced the actions of other characters, especially those like Voldemort, who sought immortality at any cost. The allure of the Resurrection Stone and the power of the Elder Wand are pivotal to his character, but perhaps if he had known the full legend, his obsession with death might have taken a different form. The story of Salazar Slytherin also carries a significant weight of myth. Slytherin's ideals of blood purity, his belief that only those of pure magical blood should attend Hogwarts, are not just personal preferences, but reflect a deeper, almost mythical connection to the past. Slytherin's actions have long-lasting consequences, and his legacy echoes throughout the wizarding world. This myth of purity, passed down through generations of Slytherin descendants, shapes the identity of the house and influences the behaviors of characters such as Draco Malfoy. His interactions with Harry Potter, particularly his animosity and pride in his pureblood heritage, could be seen as a reflection of the ancient belief that blood purity is the most important quality. The story of Slytherin and his relic, the Chamber of Secrets, suggests a magical world that has long been divided by ancient and unyielding myths. But what if the chamber itself was a direct manifestation of Slytherin's desire to protect and promote the purity of magic, not just as a physical structure but as an ideological fortress? The notion of the heir of Slytherin and the basilisk hiding in the chamber could be seen as an embodiment of the darker aspects of his myth. Another fascinating legend is that of the founder of Hogwarts, Godric Gryffindor, and the magic of his sword. Gryffindor's sword, a powerful symbol of bravery, loyalty, and strength, carries a mythic significance in the wizarding world. It is a weapon that can only be wielded by a true Gryffindor, and it appears at critical moments in the lives of those who possess the courage to use it, such as Harry. The sword is not just an artifact, it's a living piece of magic that embodies the very essence of Gryffindor's ideals. When Harry draws the sword from the sorting hat in the depths of the Chamber of Secrets, it is not just a coincidence, it is the fulfillment of a deeper, almost prophetic tale of heroism and sacrifice. The sword represents the notion that true bravery, like the myth of the hero who triumphs against all odds, is not just a trait but a legacy that continues to influence generations. There are also darker, more obscure myths that the wizarding world hints at but never fully explores. One such legend is the story of the dark arts, a type of magic that is not inherently evil but becomes twisted by the will of the user. It is the story of how the magical community once coexisted in peace with dark magic, but gradually allowed it to be corrupted into an instrument of terror. This ancient story is echoed in the life of Lord Voldemort, whose search for power and immortality is rooted in his desire to control the forces of dark magic. He creates the Horcruxes to achieve his ultimate goal, yet the creation of these objects is rooted in an ancient and forbidden form of magic. The ancient practice of creating a Horcrux Splitting one's soul to obtain immortality could have been rooted in a much older legend of wizards who sought eternal life at any cost. If this myth had been more fully explored, perhaps we could have understood Voldemort's obsession with the dark arts and his disregard for life and death on a deeper level. Then there's the myth of the Veela, the enchanting and dangerous creatures known for their beauty and their ability to charm men. The Veela are more than just a passing element in the story of the Triwizard Tournament. Their story is tied to a much older myth of the intersection between magic and humanity. These creatures embody the danger of desire and the consequences of giving in to temptation, something that is mirrored in the lives of characters like Victor Crumb, who becomes captivated by their charms. But the Veela themselves are not just mythical creatures. They are a warning about the power of beauty and the hidden dangers that lie beneath the surface. The connection between the Veela and the broader myths of magical creatures could have been further explored to shed light on the tension between the magical and non-magical worlds and the dangers of unchecked power. Moreover, the relationship between wizards and magical creatures is itself a complex web of myth. The centaurs, for example, embody the ancient conflict between the magical and the natural world. They are creatures who live by their own code, separate from the wizards and witches who constantly seek to control nature. Their story, while largely unexplored in the books, suggests a deeper philosophical divide between humanity and the world of magic. If the myth of the centaurs had been further developed, it could have opened up a broader discussion about the ethics of magic and the consequences of using it for personal gain. The relationship between magic and the natural world is also explored in the legend of the unicorn. Unicorns are majestic and pure creatures, representing the ultimate symbol of goodness and innocence in the magical world. Their blood is said to have extraordinary powers, and they are highly revered by wizards who seek to harness their magic. The tragic fate of the unicorn, killed by the cursed unicorn blood that Voldemort consumes in the Philosopher's Stone, could be seen as a reflection of the conflict between purity and corruption. This ancient myth of the unicorn could have been expanded to explore the moral consequences of meddling with the natural world in the pursuit of power. Lastly, the legend of the Marauders, particularly the story of their magical map, offers another opportunity to explore the deep myths of the wizarding world. The Marauders map, a seemingly innocuous object that reveals the secrets of Hogwarts, is actually a product of the Marauders' deep understanding of magic and their irreverent attitude toward authority. The myth surrounding the creation of the map speaks to a broader theme of rebellion against societal norms and the questioning of established structures. It's a myth that would have been intriguing to explore more fully, perhaps even offering insight into the founders' secret lives and the hidden history of Hogwarts. In conclusion, the myths and legends that permeate the world of Harry Potter are more than mere background stories. They are the threads that weave through the tapestry of the magical world, shaping the lives and decisions of the characters in profound ways. From the Deathly Hallows to the myth of Salazar Slytherin, these stories not only add depth to the wizarding world, but also raise questions about the nature of magic, morality, and power. Had they been explored more fully, they could have added even more richness to the already complex universe that J.K. Rowling created. Number 24. Magical sports and their darker sides. In the magical world of Harry Potter, sports play a significant role, from the highly celebrated Quidditch to the enigmatic, lesser-known magical competitions. The magical community is far more diverse in its athletic pursuits than the books and films suggest, where Quidditch takes the spotlight, and the Triwizard Tournament is seen as the pinnacle of magical sporting events. However, the vast world of magical sports hints at something much darker lurking beneath the surface. What if there were forgotten or even forbidden sports, overshadowed by secrecy and the threat of corruption? What if certain magical competitions were not as honorable as they appeared, and the risks associated with them were more than just physical danger? Consider the example of Quibble, a game briefly mentioned in the books. While it doesn't seem to carry the weight of danger or secrecy like Quidditch, the mention of such games suggests there are many more magical sports yet to be explored. These could involve more sinister undertones. Perhaps some of these games, though legal, carry a tradition of exploitation or corruption that the wizarding community prefers to ignore. Unlike the sports we know, which are played openly and with some level of regulation, magical games may be steeped in darker rituals that remain hidden from the public eye. In the magical world, not all sports are as openly sanctioned as Quidditch. In fact, there are stories that allude to certain events where the line between sport and something far more dangerous is blurred. Magical tournaments, for example, may be corrupted with dark magic or rigged in ways the participants are unaware of. Just think of the Triwizard Tournament, which on the surface is an event meant to celebrate the best of magical skill and bravery. However, beneath its grand facade, the tournament was manipulated by Lord Voldemort's followers to serve their darker purposes. The supposed fairness of the event was sacrificed to make room for a sinister plot, a perfect example of how easily a beloved tradition can be twisted and exploited for malicious ends. In the Triwizard Tournament, we see just how far some are willing to go to manipulate the outcome. The tournament, which originally was intended to be a friendly competition among schools, turned into a deadly affair when Barty Crouch Jr., disguised as Mad-Eye Moody, engineered a series of events that led to Harry's victory, at the expense of many others. The champions were put through a series of perilous tasks, each more dangerous than the last, all to ensure that Voldemort's return to power would happen unhindered. Even the presence of the dragon in the first task was meant not only to challenge the champions, but also to ensure that there would be bloodshed. These tasks were not just about magical skill, but survival, with participants barely able to defend themselves against the perils they faced. The tournament was, in essence, a smokescreen, allowing for Voldemort's return to unfold unnoticed by many in the wizarding world. But the manipulation of magical sporting events isn't just limited to the grand scale of the Triwizard Tournament. There are whispers of smaller, more hidden competitions that take place in the wizarding world, secret leagues where the stakes are far higher than simple honor and glory. It's not hard to imagine underground events where magic is used to alter the odds, ensuring that certain competitors always emerge victorious. The allure of wealth, fame, and power could drive many to compromise their integrity using forbidden magics to gain an unfair advantage. Some of these sports could be deeply embedded in the history of magic, dating back centuries, where the competition itself was tied to ancient and perhaps even dark magical rituals. For instance, the infamous Demon's Duel is a sport that exists in whispers. Few know its full rules, but the consequences of failure are said to be extreme. Competitors fight to the death, but it's not always clear who emerges victorious. The loser often becomes part of the duel's history, with their soul trapped forever in the arena's magical circle. Such competitions, though not mentioned in the books, could easily have existed in the shadows of the wizarding world, kept secret from the general public to prevent panic or moral outrage. The importance of secrecy in these sports cannot be underestimated. The idea that some magical competitions could be manipulated by dark wizards or even wealthy and powerful families seeking to advance their agendas is all too plausible. In a world where dark magic is so easily accessed, it stands to reason that some sports may have been co-opted by those who see the pursuit of power as more important than the safety or well-being of the participants. The dark arts, after all, can be used for far more than just personal gain. They can be weaponized in any arena, magical or otherwise. This is why the Ministry of Magic, while well-intentioned, may not always be able to keep up with the more dangerous covert activities of the magical underworld. It is essential to remember that Quidditch itself, a sport celebrated for its light-heartedness and spirited competition, is not without its own dark history. The foul play, dirty tricks, and even the occasional use of forbidden magic are not unknown in the sport. The bludgers, for example, are enchanted to attack players, a feature that adds to the danger of the game, making the sport not only physically demanding but also perilous. It's easy to imagine a darker version of Quidditch where the magic used on the bludgers is intensified, or where the players are secretly under the influence of illegal magical enhancements. Imagine a Quidditch match where competitors are willing to do anything to win, even if it means taking shortcuts by using dark magic. The idea of a forbidden sport isn't something that's foreign to the magical world. We already know that certain forms of magic are banned by the Ministry. Dark magic, for instance, is strictly regulated, and it's illegal to use it in a variety of contexts, including sports. But what if there were competitions where the magic being used was so potent and secret that even the Ministry couldn't detect it? These hidden sports would not only be dangerous for the participants, but for the magical community at large, as they could lead to the rise of powerful individuals who have no qualms about using dark magic for their own purposes. The exploitation of magical creatures in sports is another dark aspect that the wizarding world often overlooks. In Quidditch, magical creatures like the golden snitch and bludgers are used in ways that seem harmless, but one can imagine the potential exploitation of even more dangerous magical creatures. Consider the use of dragons in the Triwizard Tournament. Though they are respected, their lives are placed in danger for the sake of sport. The darker side of magical sports could involve not just competitors, but creatures being forced to participate, trained, and tortured to behave as needed for the spectacle. This would make magical sports not only a form of entertainment, but a brutal practice that leaves a trail of destruction in its wake. Even Quidditch, often considered the most harmless of magical sports, is not without its controversy. The fact that the game is so highly competitive, with the entire wizarding world watching, means that the pressure on players to win can be immense. The obsession with winning can lead to unethical behavior, including the use of forbidden magic to alter the outcome of games. And with the vast wealth and power often associated with Quidditch teams and their sponsors, it is not hard to see how these pressures could lead to corruption, manipulation, and deceit. There is no doubt that the magical world has its share of sports that are far from innocent. While the lighter, more fun sports like Quidditch provide entertainment for many, the darker side of magical competitions, full of manipulation, exploitation, and dark magic, could be far more pervasive than we realize, whether it's the secret tournaments, the unethical use of magical creatures, or the pressure to succeed at any cost. These dark undercurrents could have a profound impact on the magical community. And perhaps in some hidden corners of the wizarding world there are those who would stop at nothing to win, using whatever dark means necessary to claim victory. Number 25. Magical creatures and their roles in the magical world. In the magical world of Harry Potter, magical creatures play a pivotal role, not just as powerful allies or menacing threats, but as symbols, carriers of ancient lore, and forces that shape the magical realm in subtle, intricate ways. Yet despite their prominence, we only witness a small fraction of these creatures within the books and films. Beneath the surface, there are untold stories of mythical beings whose power, significance, and history could fill volumes, offering a richness to the magical world that fans have barely begun to explore. For instance, the acromantulas, with their terrifying spider-like appearance and deadly nature, are more than just monstrous beasts lurking in the forbidden forest. These creatures, while central to the plot in Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, are presented almost solely as obstacles for Harry and his friends. However, they are also ancient beings with a complex relationship to the magical world. The acromantula's origins are rooted in dark, forgotten times. Their venom, known for its use in various potions, hints at a far deeper connection to the wizarding world's ancient history. Could these creatures have been allies of dark wizards in eras past, perhaps even in the service of powerful dark forces like Voldemort? Their venomous bite could symbolize the venom of hatred and vengeance that runs deep in the veins of dark magic. Imagining their full story and connection to the rise of Voldemort would reveal the terrifying potential of these creatures who were once bred as instruments of terror. Then there is the hippogriff, a creature that straddles the line between nobility and danger. We first encounter Buckbeak in Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban, a creature whose proud and dignified nature is underscored by its formidable strength and temper. Buckbeak's role in the story is far more than a simple pet of Sirius Black's or an obstacle in Harry's adventures. Hippogriffs are symbols of the balance between nature and magic, embodying respect, honor, and the consequences of failing to show respect. The hippogriff's association with the magical world runs deep, for they are creatures that require a bond of mutual respect from both the witch or wizard and the beast. This reciprocal relationship echoes themes of understanding between magical beings and humans, themes that could have been explored further if the deeper histories of the hippogriffs had been fleshed out. What ancient magical societies revered these creatures? What roles did they play in early magical wars or rites of passage? There is much to unpack in their history, a history that could have broadened the narrative's exploration of the magical world. Dragons, too, hold immense symbolic weight in the magical world, but their presence is barely touched upon in the main saga. They are ferocious, untamed creatures with scales that shimmer like molten fire and breathe flames that can melt steel. In Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, Harry's encounter with the Hungarian Horntail during the Triwizard Tournament offers a glimpse into the power of dragons, but little is known about their broader significance. The world of dragons in the wizarding world is an ancient one, their origins lost in the mists of time. It is suggested that dragons were once part of the elemental forces that shaped magical creatures and enchanted lands. They are symbols of primal power and destruction, but also wisdom, as their long lifespans suggest a deep, ancient knowledge that is inaccessible to most wizards. Were dragons once revered as gods by ancient magical civilizations, perhaps even aiding in the magical development of spells and charms now considered lost? The hint of a much broader dragon mythology, encompassing more than just their role in the Triwizard Tournament, offers fertile ground for discovery. The centaurs, enigmatic and proud, possess their own story, hidden deep within the Forbidden Forest. We meet Firenze in Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, and later witness the centaur's important role in the battle during Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix. The centaurs, as a race, seem to be creatures of prophecy, deeply connected to the stars and the patterns of the cosmos, yet, like the hippogriffs, they seem to offer only fragments of their greater story. Their refusal to fight in the battle at Hogwarts, for instance, is not just a moment of passive resistance, but a statement of their ancient code and their understanding of fate and destiny. Centaurs are one of the few magical creatures that retain a deep connection to the forces of nature and the universe, offering a narrative that is far more expansive than their role as part of the battle against the dark forces. Could they have been allies of the first wizards who fought against the dark arts, perhaps in times long before Voldemort? Their ancient knowledge and their sometimes cryptic ways suggest a history that stretches back millennia. The Thestrals, those shadowy, skeletal creatures that only the bereaved can see, are perhaps one of the most hauntingly symbolic creatures in the wizarding world. Their presence in Harry Potter and the Order of the Phoenix introduces them as both a living metaphor for death and an integral part of magical society. While Thestrals play a significant role in Harry's journey, especially when they are introduced as the means of transportation to the Ministry of Magic, their deeper meaning remains unexplored. Thestrals are intimately connected to the cycle of life and death, yet there is no exploration of their origins. Could Thestrals have been once revered as spirit guides or guardians of the deceased in ancient magical cultures? Are they the remnants of an older magical tradition that viewed death not as an end, but as part of an ongoing cycle, perhaps even connected to ancient rites of passage? Exploring their place in the history of the magical world would add a layer of depth to the already profound role they play in Harry's emotional growth. The House Elves are another race whose narrative potential remains largely untapped. With characters like Dobby and Kreacher, we see glimpses of the House Elves' complex relationship to magic and servitude, yet their full history is never fully explored. House Elves have a deep connection to the most powerful magic, that of the Hogwarts castle itself, yet they live in servitude, bound by ancient magical laws. What are the origins of the House Elves' connection to wizards? How did they come to be bound to serve in such a manner? Could there be hidden truths about the House Elf race that go beyond their role in the domestic world of wizards? The House Elves might hold the key to forgotten magics, ancient oaths, and perhaps even the original spells that created the wizarding world as we know it. A deeper investigation into their place in history could reveal their role as more than mere servants, hinting at ancient, unspoken pacts between magical creatures and humans. Even more obscure magical creatures, such as the Veela and the Grindylows, present untold opportunities for storytelling. The Veela, for example, are fascinating creatures whose beauty is both a blessing and a curse, driving men to madness. What is their true nature? Are they the remnants of a once of magical beings, or do they represent a darker, more dangerous side of magic, one that has been suppressed or forgotten by the wizarding world? Similarly, Grindylows, small and watery creatures, are often portrayed as mere nuisances, but could they have once been revered or feared for their power over the watery domains of the world? These creatures' stories could add significant layers to the understanding of the magical world, showing how different beings once shaped the history of magic, their roles sometimes forgotten, other times deliberately erased. Lastly, the magical world's relationship with its creatures is also a commentary on the wizarding world's own history and evolution. As the magical world becomes more structured and bureaucratic, particularly with the establishment of the Ministry of Magic, the world's connection to magical creatures diminishes. This disconnect could be seen as a missed opportunity in the narrative. Had there been more integration and exploration of these magical beings, the rich tapestry of magic in the wizarding world could have been far broader, more nuanced, and more intricate, ultimately leading to a more vibrant world. While the Harry Potter series provides us with a rich and complex magical universe, the potential to delve deeper into the roles and histories of magical creatures is vast and largely unexplored. These creatures, often treated as mere plot devices or challenges for Harry and his friends, are capable of offering rich, layered stories that could reveal the deeper workings of the magical world. Whether they are ancient allies, lost races, or misunderstood beings, magical creatures have the potential to offer a wealth of untold stories that remain hidden beneath the surface of J.K. Rowling's books. If explored more thoroughly, these creatures could serve not only as powerful symbols, but as living histories guiding us to a more profound understanding of magic and its place in the world. Number 26. Cursed families and their tragic fates. In the shadowed corners of the wizarding world where dark magic weaves through the threads of fate, exist families whose legacies are irrevocably marked by curses. The families of Malfoy, Black and Pye are just a few of the many whose destinies have been tainted by the magic they wielded, the choices they made, and the secrets they kept. These families, though seemingly powerful and respected, are plagued by tragic histories that tell a tale not of greatness, but of loss, betrayal, and the insidious nature of magical bloodlines. The tales of these families are not just the stories of individual characters, they are the echoes of a world governed by dark values, rigid expectations, and a relentless pursuit of power. If the books had delved deeper into these cursed legacies, the saga could have taken on even more profound dimensions, revealing the depths of moral conflict, the perils of unyielding loyalty, and the destructive consequences of blood purity. The Black family, with its ancient and noble lineage, provides a particularly haunting example of a magical dynasty cursed by its own beliefs. The Black family's obsession with blood purity, their unwavering adherence to the doctrine of the superiority of pure-blood wizards, shaped their entire existence. Each member of the Black family, from the fiercely loyal Walburga to the tragic Regulus, was born into a world that demanded perfection, loyalty, and a blind faith in the dark arts. To be a Black was to be bound by the weight of tradition, to adhere to a set of values that, for all their outward grandeur, were ultimately destructive. They saw themselves as the aristocracy of the wizarding world, above the mudbloods, the half-bloods, and the muggles. But this obsession with purity proved to be their undoing. Regulus Black, one of the most tragic figures in this cursed line, was a product of his upbringing. A boy raised to revere Lord Voldemort, he followed his family's expectations, joining the Death Eaters in his youth. However, as the years passed and the darkness of the Dark Lord's reign grew more oppressive, Regulus began to see the horrifying reality of the path he had chosen. His eventual defection from Voldemort's ranks and his tragic death in an attempt to retrieve one of Voldemort's Horcruxes marked the ultimate consequence of the Black family's unyielding loyalty to ideals that had no place in the world they inhabited. His death was not just the end of a life, it was the end of a hope, a quiet rebellion against the suffocating ideals that had cursed his family for generations. The Malfoy family's story is another testament to the tragic cost of loyalty to a broken cause. Lucius Malfoy, the patriarch of the family, embodies the arrogance and entitlement that come with a life spent in service to the Dark Lord. A member of the wizarding elite, Lucius was never truly loyal to the cause of blood purity for the sake of the greater good, but rather for personal gain and power. His actions, while seemingly those of a proud and accomplished wizard, were underpinned by selfish ambition. His son, Draco, was similarly shaped by the legacy of his family. Though Draco's initial arrogance and his unquestioning belief in the superiority of his bloodline were in line with the teachings of his father, his eventual struggle with his own moral compass revealed the deep contradictions in the Malfoy family's legacy. In many ways, Draco was a prisoner of his father's choices, a boy bound by a legacy he was not sure he wanted to inherit. In the end, Draco's ultimate redemption came not through his own power or triumph, but through his rejection of the ideology that had poisoned his family for generations. He broke free from the curse of his bloodline, seeking a future for himself that was not dictated by the mistakes of his forebears. The Pye family, while less prominent in the saga, represents a different but equally tragic facet of cursed family legacies. The Pyes were known for their involvement in the darker corners of magical society, practitioners of magic that was considered unnatural by most standards. The family's name was often whispered in hushed tones, as it was associated with a series of unexplained deaths and disappearances. The curse that plagued the Pye family was not one of blood, but one of obsession, an obsession with magical knowledge and the manipulation of life and death itself. Over generations, members of the family sought to transcend the limitations of mortal existence, driven by an insatiable desire for immortality. Their experiments, while brilliant in their execution, were ultimately their undoing. It was their reckless pursuit of forbidden magic that led to their downfall, their tragic end. The last surviving member of the family, a brilliant but broken wizard named Elias Pye, was found dead under mysterious circumstances, his body surrounded by ancient magical texts that spoke of dark rituals and the very forces of life and death he had tried to control. The legacy of the Pye family, marked by ambition and hubris, serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the tragic consequences of seeking knowledge that was never meant to be found. The tragedy of these families lies not just in the fates of individual members, but in the larger picture of a world that allowed such curses to fester and grow. The magical world, for all its wonder and beauty, is also a place of deep divisions, where bloodlines matter more than character, and where the thirst for power and status can drive even the most noble of families to ruin. The families of Malfoy, Black and Pye were not born cursed, but their choices, their loyalties, and their adherence to outdated beliefs turned them into tragic figures. Had the magical world taken a different path, had it embraced values of equality, compassion, and understanding, perhaps these families could have been remembered for their contributions to the greater good, instead of their fall from grace. If the Harry Potter series had delved deeper into the stories of these cursed families, it could have offered a more profound exploration of the consequences of blind loyalty and the dangers of adhering to rigid traditions. The Black family's obsession with blood purity, the Malfoy family's unyielding support of a dark cause, and the Pye family's reckless pursuit of forbidden magic all speak to a larger truth about the perils of power and the destructive nature of secrets. Each of these families carried the weight of their own tragic histories, histories that were shaped by choices made long before their time. The tragic stories of these families serve as a cautionary tale not only for the characters within the wizarding world but for the reader as well. They remind us that history is not just a collection of facts but a living, breathing force that shapes the present and the future. The families of Malfoy, Black and Pye are not just footnotes in the history of the wizarding world. They are the very embodiment of the dangers of unchecked ambition, the perils of blind loyalty, and the inevitable consequences of living in the shadow of one's ancestors. Their legacies are not just a reflection of their individual choices, but a testament to the power of history and the dark paths it can lead us down if we are not careful.